life is tough. It punches you on a daily basis. In fact, every single moment. And you can't just scream because you'll end up in an institute. What you'll do is you'll try to take in the pains that have been imposed upon you, and then you create poetry with it. You create music with it. You go on a walk with it. You fall in love with it. But you have to somehow find a way to be a good Stoic. And Stoicism, if anything they have to teach us, is that you and I have no power over anybody. We have no power over the world. We have no power over the forces of the world. The moment you have a child, you'll have no power over your child. The moment you get into a relationship, you think you have power over your companion, but you really, really don't, unless you just want to break things off and just walk away. We have no power over anything except our emotions. But to be able to have power over emotions, which is what the world does, the world plays with you every single moment. You fall in love, you become indifferent. You are inspired, the inspiration goes away. You have a job, you're in a good mood, a customer comes in and craps all over you. You wake up, you go to sleep in a good mood, you wake up in a foul mood. That is the play of the wheel, play of life. And so they argue, since we can't change anything, perhaps you have the power to overcome negative emotions, emotions that toss you here and toss you there. But if you want to have power over your emotions, you need to be able to study your emotions. And to be able to study your emotions, you have to find yourself detached from this part of you that is so emotional. But to be able to do all of that, you need to be interested in yourself. And that is what Hussein did. He gave birth to a certain part of Amir Sabzavari. He was an infant. And so he protected his own image. God creates an image and then he protects that image. When it comes to human beings, he injects his image. He breathes his own spirit in the human being, and metaphorically speaking. But he knows that the world is far too powerful. And he doesn't want his image, what he's created inside us, to be defiled so easily. So he goes to the deepest part of us, a part that the world has no power to get to touch. Reason has no power to get to touch. And so for the next 10 years, what Hussein did was to protect that part that he had invented, created. And it slowly blossomed. If you symbolize the interior of the human being, and if you look at the human being as an entity that lives within the bosom or cradle of society, and if society offers you nothing but trash, advertisement, trash, movies, trash, most of the conversations, trash, the way people desire for things, are ambitious for things, they're all trash. So people have a good amount of trash inside them. I'm not even talking about addiction. I'm not talking about coming from, say, a parental environment where parents are not there to protect you. So a good amount of you is broken. All of a sudden you run into a rose, and this particular rose happens to have a name called Jesus Christ. His name is Jesus, his last name is Christ, not because he had a last name, but because he was touched by something. It was Christos, it was anointed. Now, like anything else, when you have something, you want to share that something with other people. If you're like Snoop Dogg and you're in love with smoking weed, well, you go on TV and you advertise weed. So we are nothing but a bundle of advertisements, and we're looking for people out there who can be receptive or buy the things you have on the inside. So Jesus Christ, look at him symbolically as a rose. He looks at me and says, Amir Sabzavari has a good amount of trash on the inside, but I see that there is this tiny little property on the inside. It's vacant, nothing has occupied it. Maybe I can plant a seed in there. That seed will eventually, if protected, if nourished, will become a rose. Now, he plants the seed, but he also knows that weeds grow really, really fast. Now, if you have a seed of a rose planted inside you, there are a couple of things you need to understand. Whoever planted that seed inside you, lots of effort, lots of sacrifice, lots of nourishment. And then, because it was fresh, because it was new, something really interesting happened. You liked the seed. Once in a while, there was this aroma coming off of the seed, and you liked the way it smelled. So what did you do? You called this person, you emailed this person, you texted this person, you did all sorts of things. But then you assume that, well, this seed can grow on its own, that it's powerful enough not to be trashed. And it's true for all of us. And your focus slowly became contaminated. And so you said, yes, I can do A, B, C, D, and at night I can go back and tend to the seed. And little by little, if in the past you spent 5 hours on the seed and 2 hours on the trash of life, now it's reversed. Now you spend 5 hours on the trash and 2 hours on the seed. Then it becomes 6 hours on trash and 1 hour on the seed. Then you spend 6 hours and 59 minutes on trash and 1 minute on the seed. And then one day you look yourself in the mirror and you say, you know, the trash in my life aren't bad. You know, I have a job, I have a companion, I have children, I have a nice car, I have all this wonderful stuff. But for some strange reason, I am not very happy and I don't know why. And to some extent, it's paradise lost. And there's a great story that, I don't know if it's in the Gospel of Matthew, Luke, or it's not in the Gospel of John, because in the Gospel of John, you don't have very many stories. It's about a farmer, and all of you know the story. The farmer has a bag, and the bag has a hole. The bag is full of seeds. What do farmers do? Well, if you're talking about 2,000 years ago, we don't have tractors yet, we don't have bulldozers yet. So you have a guy, and it's the Middle East. You know, Jesus comes from the Middle East. And so what you have is the ground being really, really hard. I mean, just think about the metaphor, the symbolism. The ground is really, really hard, and you have to use a shovel or an axe or something to till the ground. That's tough. People have no choice but to become hard in the middle of life, because if you're soft, if you're sensitive, you're pushed around by life. So you have to toughen up for life, and that is what the ground is. So whoever the farmer is in anybody's life, when they encounter us or when we encounter them, there is something about them that we enjoy. We don't really know what it is. I mean, I doubt very much that Plato knew who Socrates was. All that I think that Plato felt was, there is something weird about this man. He looks ugly, just looking like a beast, but there is something about his interior that's so captivating. And so, should you show some interest in this farmer, and should the farmer show some interest in you, well, the tilling begins. In other words, the tilling means he has to remove all the desires that have nothing to do with what he has on the inside. The only thing that the farmer is interested in is finding a place inside you to put these seeds so roses can grow, do you see? But as long as your ground is filled with trash, you can't do much. If it's hard, you can't do much. So what you have then is this farmer walking around. He talks to people, but some people will never allow anyone to plant anything inside them. Imagine if you've come from an abusive environment. When you go out with someone, that person, you can feel they like you. But you have been so hurt in your life in the past 20, 30, 40 years that you will never allow this person close enough so that when you go home, you have his image in your head. You will never allow that. Because you know, the moment his image goes inside you and you have an intimate, emotional relationship with this man, you open yourself to hurt, to pain, and you will never allow that. So what you have in the Gospel of Matthew or Mark or John is that Jesus walks to certain people, talks to you, but you're at a certain place in life where you are hard, you're like concrete. It doesn't matter what he says, it doesn't matter how he says it. It's never going to enter into you. And what happens when a seed just remains on top of the ground? Well, the sun hits it. It slowly becomes a victim to time, to wind. It just dies. Now, there are these other people that Jesus or Socrates or whoever you idolize in your life is walking, and they talk to some people. And those people, in fact, have the capacity to receive the seed. There is only one problem. They will never allow or have the capacity to have the ground tilled deep enough so that the seed can remain hidden from the vultures. Then he runs into these other groups of people and he digs, and they say, dig, it's okay. It's painful, but ishq dar daryay gham ghamnak neest. It is sorrowful, but there is something delicious. There is something joyful about this particular sorrow. It's like Your mom has cancer, your dad has cancer, and you love your father, and you are angry because this disease is going to rob them of themselves. This disease robs them of their life. And every time you go to your father, to your mother, and you see them in pain, it's an agonizing place to be, but you take care of them. And your love baptizes, your care baptizes what you see. And so you do it joyfully, you do it lovingly. And so what happens is sorrow turns into joy. It doesn't mean that sorrow goes away, but sorrow becomes meaningful. You don't need to be medicated. You don't need to get drunk. You're not angry. Okay? Add to it the fact that when you slowly see your father or mother passing away, it makes you more reflective. Who am I? What am I? What is meaningful? What lacks meaning? What sort of people do I want in my life? What sort of questions do I want to pose to other people as well as myself? And so he plants, the farmer plants those seeds inside those people. He tries on all people. And that's the thing you need to understand. When, for example, you find Malcolm X, or you find Jesus, or you find Mahatma Gandhi, all these people saying, whoever finds my door, and whoever knocks on my door, and to whomever my door opens, they are more than welcome to sit at my table and break bread with me. Jesus walks with the callous, as well as those who have some capacities, as well as those who have a good amount of capacity. He tries all categories of people. But the only people who are able to receive him and receive him well are those who allow him, or any teacher, to dig a huge hole inside them, plant the seed, and then have the person who dug water the seed on a daily basis, give it some light, protect it. If there are any weeds growing around it, pull out the weed, trash the weed, tend to the seed. When the seed, now here's the thing about seeds, you assume that just because you see this tiny little green sprouting out of the earth, the job is done. No. Because what you have, especially with the sort of seeds that people like Malcolm or Martin or Jesus or Muhammad or the Buddha want to plant inside us, it takes time for them to become a huge trunk so that no wind, no rain, no storm, no hurricane can uproot. So they have to stand by and keep watch until they have taken root inside you.